A military aviator, 28 years in the Air Force and Navy, is describing something he watched in the sky. His exact words, released by the Pentagon this July. "Unlike anything I had seen. Not a drone, not a balloon, not anything he had a name for." That single sentence is now sitting in a public government file, available to anyone with an internet connection. Alongside thousands of pages the U.S. government spent 80 years keeping sealed. By the end of this, you'll understand why the Pentagon started handing this material over voluntarily in 2026, what's actually in it, and why, even with all of it now public, the honest answer to "what is this stuff" still isn't a clean one. In February 2026, the White House ordered something that had never happened at this scale. A coordinated effort across the Department of War, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Energy, NASA, the FBI, and other intelligence agencies to declassify everything they had on unidentified aerial phenomena. Not a single document dump. A rolling, ongoing release, with more scheduled to come. The program got a name: Pursue, the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, and it got a public address, war.gov/UFO. No clearance required, no request forms, just a website open to anyone. May 8, 2026, the portal goes live. The first release, 162 files, spanning roughly 80 years of unresolved encounters, reports, photographs, videos, witness accounts, military records, even astronaut transcripts, some dating as far back as 1944 and 1945. The Department of War itself reported the site passed 1 billion hits within hours of launch and continued climbing from there. Whatever the exact number, this became, by any measure, one of the most visited government websites in American history, practically overnight. 2 weeks later, May 22nd, 64 more files, mostly video and audio, including the program's first official audio recordings. Buried in that release, a medical debriefing of the Apollo 12 crew, Pete Conrad, Dick Gordon, Alan Bean, describing streaks of light they saw in the dark while trying to sleep in orbit decades ago, now declassified for the first time. Alongside it, infrared footage of 4 unidentified objects flying in formation over Iran. A separate recording showing an object over Syria accelerating instantly, with no visible transition, no ramp-up. Video connected to a 2020 incident over Lake Huron, where an F-16 was scrambled and ultimately fired on an unidentified object. A currently serving senior intelligence officer gave a written account of a UAP investigation in late 2025 on board a military helicopter that turned into a series of close encounters lasting over an hour. He described countless orange orbs swarming in every direction against a mountain backdrop, a display that lasted several minutes before fading. Then 2 of them flared up side by side, just above the helicopter's own rotor disc. Oval-shaped, orange with a white or yellow center, close enough to see clearly. Fighter jets were scrambled to respond. According to the officer's own notes, the orbs matched the jet's speed and flight path, and appeared to chase them. He and the helicopter crew, in his own words, were left virtually speechless. June 12th, a third release, this one centered on the FBI's own files, including a set the Bureau internally refers to as its orb files. Same pattern as before: real incidents, real witnesses, real sensor data, and no confirmed explanation attached to any of it. July 10th, the most recent batch. 40 more files, 14 documents, 19 videos, 4 audio recordings, 3 images, sourced from the Department of War, NASA, the CIA, the FBI, and the Department of Energy. This is where that opening line comes from, the 28-year aviator. And buried in the same release, a 1949 document from a conference near Los Alamos National Laboratory, discussing a wave of sightings locals called green fireballs, attended, according to the file, by scientists who had worked on the Manhattan Project just a few years earlier. Whatever this pattern is, the government's own paper trail on it goes back further than most people would guess. All 4 of these tranches sit inside a larger, ongoing investigative process. Since 2022, a Pentagon office called the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO for short, has been running actual scientific review on incoming reports, not just archiving them. In its most recent fiscal year, AARO took in 319 new reports and resolved 114 of them, roughly 36%, mostly down to balloons, birds, drones, satellites, and aircraft. The year before that, it resolved about 24% of its caseload the same way. That leaves the majority of each year's reports genuinely unresolved, not because investigators gave up, but because the available evidence simply isn't enough to confidently call a mundane explanation either way. Here's the part worth being precise about. None of this is the government confirming aliens. It isn't. Every single one of these files is labeled exactly what it is: unidentified, unresolved, not yet explained. Some fraction of cases like these, when properly investigated, turn out to be weather balloons, drones, sensor glitches, foreign surveillance craft, or ordinary aircraft misread in bad conditions. That's true, and it's true for a meaningful share of what's in these files too. But it isn't true for all of it. After decades of investigation, after military radar, after infrared footage, after first-hand accounts from trained pilots and astronauts, a residual percentage of these cases simply don't resolve into a mundane explanation. That's not speculation. That's the government's own conclusion, in its own declassified paperwork. 4 tranches in, as of this recording, and Persu isn't finished. More files are scheduled. This isn't a one-time release building toward a single dramatic reveal. It's an ongoing, rolling disclosure, which means the honest answer to "is there more?" is simply yes, and nobody outside the program knows exactly what's still sealed. And this isn't just an archive of old cases. As recently as July 2026, the U.S. Navy reported roughly 100 airborne objects, along with 2 uncrewed surface craft operating together off the coast of Virginia. AARO confirmed it's the only maritime case in its most recent reporting period, and as of this recording, it's still under active investigation. Nobody has closed the file. Go back to that aviator. 28 years of experience, trained to identify aircraft on site, under pressure, at a glance. And the best word he had for what he saw was simply, unlike anything. That sentence is now permanently public record. One line in a growing government archive that keeps adding new lines faster than anyone can fully explain the old ones. This channel tracks the story as it keeps unfolding. Subscribe so you don't miss the next tranche.